Have you been looking around? Have you noticed there are more for sale signs in people's yards now? Are your friends no longer talking about how they just got $30,000 over for their house? Are you thinking about selling? Well, you need to stick around to find out what you need to get done to sell your house in today's market. My name is Eric Hudson. I'm a real estate agent here in the Las Vegas area, and every day, good folks like yourself are reaching out to us every single day for advice on real estate, whether selling or buying. We're always available, and all you have to do is call, text, or email, or even send a carrier pigeon. And that joke is starting to get old itself. So if you do that, we will reach out to you. Be very careful about leaving comments below asking for our help to buy or sell, because YouTube does not always tell us when folks have actually reached out below. So I'm sure by now you've started to realize that the housing market has changed. You're starting to see more and more signs in people's yards, and there's no nice way to put it. We're starting to get into kind of a panic atmosphere. Unfortunately for a lot of you, especially the sellers, we are still in the seller's market, but no one realizes it. Over the last month, in June itself, they had the largest number of price reductions in history. Matter of fact, 25% of all homes on the market had a price reduction. Right now, more homes are having price reductions than come on the market. Now, these price reductions aren't always a price reduction per se. What they are is adjusting a price from a ridiculous price to a realistic price. Yet, there's a little bit more to that. So right now, let's say you had your neighbor Fred. They sold their house. They listed it for $500 and they sold it for $530. Well, that's been par for the course for about 2 years. Now, some people then list their house. They say, well, gee whiz, well, Fred got $530. Let's look at how hot this market is. And let's list ours for $550, hoping to get $570. Well, we are no longer in that market. That market is done. I don't know when or if it'll come back, but just forget about that. You'll be lucky to get the $530 that your neighbor Fred got. So the first thing you need to do to try to sell your house in today's market is price it right. And I hate to be the one to tell you, you may need to list it below where the last comparable sale is, because you have to prevent yourself from being in a race to the bottom. We're starting to get a race to the bottom because everyone is starting to get frightened. Here's another thing. Back when I was at Hickam on staff as a major, we had this saying, a self-licking ice cream cone. Well, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. As more people put their homes on the market, you would think that buyers would be happy because just 2 months ago they were paying over. Well, they're not. Here's what they're doing. They're sitting on the sidelines and they're waiting for the price to drop. And every time somebody overprices their house and then corrects it to where it should be, that is the sign in their minds that the prices are dropping. So they sit by. And if they're sitting by, they're not buying your house. So make sure you price it right to begin with. Trying is no longer an option. Now, these are the steps you need to take prior to even putting your house on the market if you want to win. The next thing that you need to look at is the status that your house is allowed to be in. Now, some MLSs now allow for what's known as the coming soon listing. So you can do, according to the MLS, a little bit of pre-marketing by putting it coming soon. Now, your agent may be limited to certain things. Now, your agent may be limited, but you're not. You're trying to help get your house sold. So if you want to do things like put out a Craigslist ad, as long as you do it, that could be some good pre-information, especially get it out there and it's right priced. Also, have you thought about your friends, family, your coworkers, your church members? Those are people who may have somebody who is looking to move into your neighborhood. You can do these pre-marketing activities when your agent cannot. Now, don't get into that point about talking about, It seems like I'm doing their work for them. No, you're helping out to get your house sold. Next thing you have to think about is the practice just a few months ago was like, how little will you charge me for commission? Yeah, that was great 2 months ago. Right now, you're trying to get butts and seats. And one of the ways you're going to get butts and seats is taking care of the wallets of agents, because they're thinking with their wallets too. With fewer sales, they're making less money, which means they're going to drive traffic to the houses that pay them the most. So plan this. Let's see if we can get away with paying the buyer's agent 2%. Yeah, that would have floated a few months ago, and you started seeing more and more of those. Over the last week, you know what I've been seeing? A lot of paying out full commissions, which means if you want to make sure that your house sells, you need to stop going, how little can you charge, and saying, what can you do to market my house? And it needs to be proper marketing. Putting it in the newspaper, how's that going to help? Does anybody even read a newspaper anymore? I get a newspaper every day, and you know what? I throw it in the trash, but I read the paper every day. I read it online, and I don't get to the classified section or anything. I stop at the Dilbert comic because I like Dilbert. Well, some people still believe if they put it in the paper, somehow it's going to sell. If they're not coming to look at houses to begin with, do you think they're looking at a newspaper for a house? That's just meant to make you feel good. I don't like people to make me feel good. I like people to get stuff done. So you need to do effective marketing. Some things you can do these days, Facebook marketing. It can kind of work. Open houses, let's get into them. Of course, you may want to have your agent do an open house when the house is actually allowed to be marketed properly. That doesn't stop you for doing some kind of a pre-open house. Don't use your agent's signs. You can go get signs that just plain say open house. Maybe you can borrow them if your agent has open house signs that say open house, nothing else, because that could start stirring up some things. And when it does come time to have an open house, see what's going on. I went out this weekend with the client. Well, first of all, we noticed that there were a lot of signs out. A lot. We also know there was open houses, and I drove by several of them for grins and giggles just to see what was going on. I may as well have driven by the cemetery because they were dead. Everybody's waiting for the fall. You don't want to be that victim who's waiting for that fall. You want to price ahead and get the most money. Most of you have a couple of $100,000 in equity. You want to protect that equity as long as you humanly can, which means selling before your neighbors panic. Because when there's blood on the streets, profits can be made. And you don't want to be part of that extra profit that's made because you got a little too greedy, saying, let's try 2 more weeks. Remember, 2 months ago, you would have gotten an offer above your list price. Not now. Here's another one that you can do ahead of time. Partnering with a loan officer or a loan company, a lender. Now, they may have some special programs that they could bring up that your house qualifies for that could get more butts and seats. Now, I'm not trying to sell this system, so I'm just saying, like we have Keller Mortgage at Keller Williams. Well, Keller Mortgage can save you up to $5,000 on closing costs, up to, it's kind of like anything else, up to. Well, guess what? You can advertise that. You can say, I'm covering up to $5,000 in your closing costs, because a lot of closing costs are lender fees. And if there are no lender fees, they're saving that money. And, the little asterisk is if you use my lender. And there may be lenders out there also who, if you use them, will give you something. Like I've talked about before with the new homes, the new builds. They've brought down interest rates. They've done a whole bunch of other stuff to make their product more desirable. They do that by working with the lenders. So you can work with the lender. Also, make your product, aka your home, your house more desirable, because you need to be better than Sally down the street. Because Sally, if she priced her home at 550 and it was worth 550 and you price at 540, guess whose house they're going to buy? They're going to buy yours. And then a month from now, Sally's going to reduce her price to 525. Yeah. So she took an extra month and she had to reduce her price even more. You started off smart. Okay, here's the next thing you need to do. You need to present the best product possible. I can remember a few years ago, I was doing an open house and I knew there was a house down the street that was slightly lower priced. I don't know what condition it was in, but the house I was doing the open house in wasn't in the best of conditions. We're not in the market we're in now. So an agent came by, brought her client, and I could hear they were just at the house down the street. So while our client was walking around, I went, whispering in her ear, "Are you bringing him down here to see this house so he can buy the house down the street?" And she went like, people will do that. Do not be the house that sells someone else's house. And here's what I mean by that. You need to have the best product possible. A few months ago, you didn't have to paint. You didn't have to worry about yard work. Now, you need to put some paint on those walls. You need to declutter. You know, you can get a rental unit for about $100 a month, and you can do it month to month. And like I've said before, some of them even give you a truck to bring your stuff in. All that clutter, when you're saying, I can't do this and I can't do that, take that crap down to a storage unit. You need to clean them carpets, sweep those floors, put some paint on the wall if necessary, cover those nail holes, take that art down from the wall and pictures of your grandmama, take them down. Paint the outside of the house. It doesn't cost that much at this time to get your house painted. Next thing, take care of that yard. Go out there, make sure that yard is looking perfect, because that is going to give you that curb appeal. Do everything you can before that house hits the market to sell your product. And some of the other things you need to look at are the other videos that I have, because I have a lot of videos that are helping both buyers and sellers in the current market, and I'm going to continue to provide value to folks. Also, if you have not hit that subscribe button and you've gotten a little bit of value today, I would appreciate that. Giving me a thumbs up. As I've said in the beginning, if you are looking to make some type of a real estate transaction, whether buying or selling or even investing, because right now is a good time to invest, believe it or not, information, call, text, email, and we'll get back to you and we'll make sure that you're helped as best as humanly possible.